Welcome to the Christian Atheist, episode number 31, on prescriptive Hegelianism. I call this episode The Turn from Marx. Our analysis of what I have termed the prescriptive Hegelians has come only so far as Marx. Marx utilized Hegel's logic and his conceptual tool chest. In particular, his dialectical opposition of self and other, of which master and slave is a variant. The Marxist bourgeoisie versus proletariat as opposing classes in a power relation of dominance and oppression, which must be superseded in a higher resolution, is the essence of socialist or communist utopianism. This formulation is prescriptive in two important ways. First, it asserts a theoretical explanation, an oppositional structure of oppressor versus oppressed as the fundamental underlying reality. And second, it sides with the oppressed, in terms of dialectical logic, the antithesis, morally. The oppressed should supersede the oppressors. In contrast, then, with Hegel's descriptive philosophical program, which sought to carve nature at her joints, to accurately reflect what is the case, Marx everywhere substitutes a prescriptive vision with a clear goal: to change what is into what should be. This prescriptive turn is antithetical to Hegel's descriptive program, but it is entirely consonant with his logic. Even, one might say, inevitable when transcendence is abandoned and value relativized, instrumentalized. Hegelian logic, then, by collapsing reality into process, which is, by the way, the very meaning of Hegelian idealism, opens the door for a global prescriptivism. The justification for Marx's metaphysical prescription is the negative moral judgment of the existing structure. Marx privileges the antithesis, the other in opposition to the self, in the dialectic, and moralizes this privileging. The Hegelian right, we might say, privileged the thesis of dialectical logic, the self. Both right and left Hegelians sought to achieve an immanent ideal, a utopia. Having metaphysically banished transcendent value, value nevertheless emerges from the field of the immanent, as human beings live through value and value hierarchies. A highest value from amidst the field of immanent relative value will serve as the end by which and for which all means will be justified. For Hegel, reason was the end that justified all means, while for Marx it was economic justice, the socialist utopia. When Marxist utopianism failed, and failed irretrievably in the mid-20th century, Marxists were thrown back to the field of relative immanent value. With no objective, transcendent value by which to judge between values or give order to them, tribalism, an aggregate of value collectives, each claiming hegemony over the others, resulted. Both within the left and, what is less surprising, between the left and the right. What should be complementary differences in working out our common problems become instead irreconcilable hostilities, as we no longer have any common ground. This story, however, requires expansion, greater detail, and a more sympathetic development of its themes before we may display these failures. I propose that we do this in our next episode of The Christian Atheist. As in The Christian Atheist, episode number 30, the incarnation of an idea provides the best opportunity for assessing its value, its use, its truth. So the complete and humanly devastating failure of Marxism and the collectivist right in the 20th century displays the moral bankruptcy of the Hegelian ideologies so graphically that one might justifiably assume that well-meaning theorists of all stripes would abandon the disastrous Hegelian project. Such an abandonment, however, is more easily contemplated than accomplished. A compelling case is made by both Stephen Hicks and by Pluckrose Lindsay, the authors of the book Cynical Theories, and such thinkers as Steven Pinker, Sam Harris, and others, that Enlightenment liberalism is both the reactionary target of right and left Hegelian ideologies and its proper antidote. With this claim, I am cautiously sympathetic, even cautiously enthusiastic. However, what we all mean by Enlightenment liberalism is a complex issue, an issue I propose to take up in our final episode of this series. This quotation from Cynical Theories presents valuable insight on the issue. Liberalism is also hard to place. It makes little sense to speak of when it began or how it developed, even though we can name philosophers who have articulated its essence, most of whom lived in the West in modern times. They drew inspiration from earlier thinkers in other traditions, reaching all the way back to classical Greece 2,000 years earlier. They did not, however, invent liberalism, which belongs neither to a historical period nor to a geographical location. The underlying impulse toward liberalism can be found in every time and place. Whenever people want to modify an existing system in order to keep the good bits and eradicate the failures, especially when such failures constrain, oppress, or hurt people. With this statement, I am fully in agreement, as it points to a transcendent notion of truth and reality toward which we human beings strive, however imperfectly. It is this transcendent ideal that the Kantian critique preserved, and which Hegelianism, my claim is, abandoned. Whether we conceive of a common highest value as a person, Christ, God incarnate, as I do, or as a regulative ideal that provides common ground, a universal structure of truth and value by which we human beings can live and work together in common cause. It is time to again find a firm foundation upon which we can all stand, to reap the wisdom of a path we've traveled since life emerged on our planet, and to consolidate the valuable lessons of the last century and a half. As I see this series drawing to a close, here is where I hope to go. Our next episode will be devoted to the postmodern problem, with a final episode to close out this series and summarize our position. If this is the first edition of The Christian Atheist you've watched, I apologize for its density and its difficulty. But you can catch up on the other editions by subscribing below. First, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And let us know what you'd like to hear from us by commenting. Wise Words for Your Occasion is located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but we're willing to travel. For inquiries or to book an occasion, go to wisewordsforyouroccasion.wordpress.com or see us on Facebook or check out our YouTube channel. You'll find links to all three in this post.